All right, good afternoon, traders. Today is Friday the 13th, 2026. Coach Carignan here, lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. Today was a move up, right up to that all-time high anchored VWAP, and then we kind of, well, not the all-time high anchored VWAP, but the like the 3-day high anchored VWAP, and then we rolled over. All right, let's take a look at the markets today on the 10-minute. Got like a 10-minute downtrend coming into the close. 2-hour. Got a continuation of the 2-hour downtrend coming into the close. Going to go over here and pick up on this one. So you can see 2-hour downtrend. You got the sticks and the 3 riding under excuse me, riding underneath the 8. Everything riding underneath the 17. So 2-hour downtrend coming into the close. Daily candle is a lower high as an outside day. All right, so that's a higher high and a lower low, closing under a bearish trap, closing under the all-time high anchored VWAP, closing in quadrant 4, near the bottom of quadrant 4. We're still bullish. We're definitely not acting bullish. We are in a downtrend because we got lower highs and lower lows. So there's SPY on the daily chart. Weekly chart, still bullish and in an uptrend. Monthly chart, still bullish and in an uptrend. Let's take a look at QQQ. QQQ, start out here on the 10-minute. 10-minute downtrend coming into the close. 2-hour downtrend coming into the close. Daily candle is a lower high and a lower low, closing under a bearish trap, under the 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP, under the uptrend line, still in quadrant 4, so we're still bullish, definitely not moving up. We've got, let's see what we got here. That was a higher high right here. They still haven't made the lower low, so we're still in an uptrend on QQQ because they inked out a penny higher high right over here, right up over those two wicks. All right, so we're still in an uptrend, and it's a dysfunctional uptrend because, price isn't moving up. Okay, it's either moving to the right or to the downside. So there's QQQ in the dysfunctional uptrend, up in quadrant 4. Still bullish up there in the upper third or up in quadrant 4. On the weekly chart, all right, you can see the origin of the move back here in April, up and over to the right. So bullish and in an uptrend still on the weekly and on the monthly. So on the bigger time frames, SPY and QQQ still bullish and in uptrends. All right, daily just extending this bull flag that we're currently in on QQQ and SPY. You can see extending the bull flag right here. Okay, so we'll take a look at daily candle for IWM. All right, so IWM looks like an outside day, higher high, lower low, closing under a bearish trap, closing under the falling 17, closing under the all-time high anchored VWAP, almost closing in barely closing in quadrant 4. Okay, so we're still bullish. We're up over the upper third. We're in a downtrend because we keep making lower highs and lower lows. Okay, so there's IWM. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. Diamond Dow, outside day, higher high, lower low, closing under a bearish trap under the falling 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP. Still in the upper third, so it's still bullish. But definitely in a downtrend, making a lower high and some lower lows. Take a look at Stinker. All right, and Stinker puts in a lower high, lower low, closing underneath a bearish cross, underneath the rising 17, underneath the midpoint, underneath the all-time high up here, anchored VWAP, and underneath the all-time low, anchored VWAP right here. They're almost one and the same now. I'm just going to take this one off because they are, by all intents and purposes, one and the same, because they've just merged right there. Okay, so there's FNGU, aka Stinker. We're not in the lower third. And we're not in the upper third, so we're just neutral through here, just neutral. Still in a downtrend. We have not made a higher high. We needed to break this high right here. It's the first one you come to that breaches the falling 17 right there. So they needed to make a higher high there. They failed to do it. So we're still in a downtrend. All right. So I'm just going to state that this downtrend kind of dysfunctional in that ever since making the downtrend, all right, we've been moving to the right or melting up. Definitely not today. We're now moving down. But in regards to the last 10 days, you can see here we're just moved to the right or melt up to the upside. So there's stinker on the daily chart. All right, let's take a look at silver and gold. Silver looking like a lower high and lower low. And what do we got here? Lower high, lower low, closing underneath. A bearish cross, closing underneath. Flat 17. No longer in the upper third, so it's neutral. All right, and you can see they got a low. They made a lower low here. Okay, got again a lower high, so still in a downtrend. All right, dysfunctional downtrend, just moving to the right. All right, or melting up. Now it's moving down, but dysfunctional downtrend on silver on the daily candle, so neutral and dysfunctional downtrend on silver. Let's take a look at gold. Gold, same thing, lower high, lower low, closing under a bearish trap under the 17, under the all-time high anchored VWAP. Gold has still a dysfunctional uptrend. All right, price made the uptrend right here. There's a high, there's a low. They made a higher high right there. Okay, so with that, all right, since making that high, you can see price is either melted down or to the right. All right, so dysfunctional downtrend there. It's up there in the middle of quadrant 4, so it's bullish, dysfunctional downtrend. Let's take a look at USO. Okay, USO, I'm telling you, I think USO can get up to, there's a valley between two peaks. Don't quote me on this. But I think we get to that high right there. All right. After hitting that high, I think that's it. I really do. That high right up there at 687. All right. Back on the daily candle, let's zoom in here. Take this off. Why is it a double? All right. Let's move back to 2022. All right, so here's our 4-year high anchored VWAP. That's the 4-year high. USO currently at a 7-year high, close to an 8-year high, over the 4-year high anchored VWAP right there. Today's candle is a higher low and a higher high, closing over a bullish trap, over the rising 17, over the 4-year high anchored VWAP. Clearly up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish and in an uptrend right there. UNG, lower high, lower low, closing inside a bullish trap, over the hooking or the rising 17, still in quadrant 1. I'll zoom out. Okay, so you can see right here, this is a 12-month high anchored VWAP. Notice every time they got close to it, they got rejected. And when they got over it, they got tossed out. All right? They got tossed out of there. All right, so price action for today is a lower high, lower low, closing in the bullish trap and over the rising 17 EMA. We're in an uptrend. Not really moving up, but we made an uptrend because we got a high right there, and we made a higher high. So we made a high, a low, and then a higher high. So we're in an uptrend right there on this, okay? So they haven't made any lower lows, so we're still in that uptrend. Dysfunctional uptrend in that ever since making that higher high, price has just moved to the right or kind of melted down a little bit, all right? So dysfunctional uptrend on UNG, all right? And it's bearish because it's down in the lower third down there. Okay, so let's take a look at technicals, T2101. Well, we came lower today, and you can see market breadth. We got a little bit more participation, and probably can't read too much into that. You're going to get more participation on an option expiration Friday, so I'm not going to read too much into that. But we were bearish yesterday in that price went down yesterday, and then you can see a jump higher in market breadth or participation right there. Okay, T2122. Okay, so we left off yesterday in the sell zone, and I said what a magnificent thing it would be if we could make our way back to the chop zone, buyer's chop zone. Didn't happen. We actually kind of melted down, and after making this equal high, see the equal high, we came back down here, and we spent the whole day in the oversold zone on T2122. Okay, T2123. And on T2123, you can see just a continuation of that downtrend right there. Okay, there's not one candle that breaches the 17 up there, and then we just keep going lower and lower. There's the low. We obviously made a lower low, so we're in a downtrend right there. We're underneath the 200 SMA. I'm a bear now, so this is where I like it. All right, under the rolling over 200 SMA. We'll see what happens. This is the all-time high right up around here. One of these two peaks right here is the all-time high. All right, so you can see price action based on the move so far. Okay. All right, just from the all-time high to the pullback low, it's clearly all the way down here at the very bottom of quadrant 1. So that's bearish on that from that perspective. Okay, but I mean, if you add in all of this, you can see clearly we're still in the upper third and bullish right there. Okay, using the shorter amount of time, we're bearish, encompassing more time. Okay, you can see we're still bullish. On the T2123 3-bar chart, just want to point this out. This was an all-time high. We had a pullback. Okay, from that pullback, this is the April low right here. Price rallied up and that was the all-time high, made a new all-time high. Had a pullback right here. We'll just see where it came down to. Okay, so had a pullback down to, we'll just call it the upper third. Okay, right here. See right there, pull back to the upper third. All right, from there we bounced off this head and shoulders pattern right over here. All right, and ripped and made a new all-time high up there. And then I got my Fibonacci. If you look at the Fibonacci, I'll just crank it up a little bit. Not that much, a little bit right there. Okay, so right here is the 1272 right there. You can see very close to the 1272. And then we take it over here, and you'll see it's right near the 1618. Okay, so here is the 1618 right across the top of that line right there. And we're rolling over right now. Okay, so rolling over. T2123 3-bar chart. Okay, so I'm going to move this all the way back over here. And I'm going to dial it back. Okay. All right, so you can see price action is kind of rolling over. We're still up in the upper quadrant 4, so that's bullish. We're still over the 200 SMA, so that's bullish. I'm a bear right now until I see something different. Right now, it looks like market's kind of calling this the top. I don't know. Maybe we go into some big butt consolidation where we pull back to the midpoint and go back up, and pull back to the midpoint and go back up. We'll see, all right? We'll see what happens. Currently, this is still bullish, but in a downtrend on the 3-bar chart. There's a low. See the low that pokes below the 17, okay? And you can see clearly we made a lower low and even lower low right there. So clearly in a downtrend, both on the 15 and the 3-bar chart. Let's look at Stinker on the 15. All right, so here's price action for Stinker today. You got the low. You clearly got lower lows, so you're in a downtrend. You're underneath a rising 200 SMA. That's where you want to be if you're a bear. All right, if you're a bull, you want to be up here. I'm a bear, so currently I'm a bear, so that's where I want to be. So kind of everything melting off. And you can see price action is under that rising 200, under that all-time high anchored VWAP, which is the pink line. Remember, we merged the lower one and the bigger one together. We're just going to use this one. All right, so there's FNGU. And if we look at it from the pullback low, all right, we're going to put them quad lines just on that pullback low. And you can see we're no longer bullish. All right, so we're not up in the upper third. Right up there. That would be the upper third. We're not in it. We're down here at the neutral area. So kind of neutral. And then a downtrend there on stinker on the 15. All right, I think that does it. How I made money today. It was not an easy day for me. Lots of spreads. Lots of trying to pick off lows and double down on highs, and just awful for me. But let's go over the setup. All right, and I said I'm going to be bullish this morning, so let's pick that up where I left off with I'm going to be bullish this morning. Let's go to this game plan here. Let's pick up with 10 minute. Let's pick up SPY. All right, let's turn trading on in case it's necessary to see push pins. All right, so 10 minute, I'm going to dial out back. So we have this beautiful 10-minute uptrend ripping up out of, well, you can see those lows, the 662 lows, which coincides with another low right over here. Okay, so got kind of a double bottom right here, getting a huge bounce. All right, so it went from 662 clear up to 672, $10 bounce right there. When you love to cut that, all of it. Again, it's very hard to catch all of it, but got a 10-minute uptrend, 10-minute chart. You can see the sticks and the 3 EMA riding up over the 8. You can see all of them are pointed up. VWAP is pointed up. 3 is pointed up. 8 EMA is pointed up. Even the 17 is pointed up. Okay, so traded a continuation of that uptrend up here to a location which was the 3-day high anchored VWAP. Okay, so take this, and you can see we went right up close to it. Didn't quite tag it. Imagine if you take the post-market off on the pre-market, it probably did tag it, but right into that prior high anchored VWAP, right up there. Okay, and then from there we got rejected, and we came back down here to check the lows. Now, they did make a lower low. Doesn't appear to me that it's a significant lower low. We may very well find ourselves back up here again tomorrow based on zero gamma happens to be for the 16th 670. All right, so we very well may find ourselves. Let me show you that one more time. Okay, this is for the 16th. Things may change, but zero gamma is 670 up here. So we may reverse right off of 660 one more time, all the way back up to 670 area. We'll see what happens. All right, we'll see. All right, no guarantees, no predictions there. But anyways, there's the zero gamma level. Didn't really produce a significant lower low, so we'll see what happens. I would have liked to see them hit it earlier. But anyways, I said after taking profits close to this area right here, let's take off the post market. So you can see what it looks like without the post market on there. Okay, so 10 minute. Okay, so you see how close we came right there. Didn't quite touch it. And then from there we went into a 10-minute downtrend. I don't know if you heard me. I might have mumbled it. Maybe the microphone was off. I said that's probably going to be my target. Looking for 671, 672, 674, I think is what I was looking for. And then I expected price to roll over. Well, we went to 672 and rolled over right there. So I said 672 on up to 674, 675, and then look for price to roll over. Well, I got to tell you, when I opened up this morning, I looked at the gamma on here for today. And I opened up the GEX, and I had today's date on there. So let's just, come on. Why can't I get the 13th? Come on, crazy thing. Oh, they're not letting me see past. But anyways, I looked at it, and what it looked like there was going to be a nice put squeeze on up to 674 and 675. But then when I opened it up, all of those long puts, all right, were gone. All right, so it just goes to show you got to update it in the morning in order to get correct data, all right, on the GEX. But I did expect it to go up there and kind of roll over. All right, so I traded all of these right here, and 10-minute downtrend, you can see just about lasted all day. All right, and I got some QQQ puts. Okay, so you can see I sold those into strength up there. I had a bull spread, a bull put spread. Of course, I sold some of those, and I had to cover because I should have taken my profit. I had about $800 of profit in these at one time early this morning when price was up here. I should have taken it, but I didn't. All right, and it wound up burning me right there. 681 calls. Again, this was part of a call spread, so I took a big hit on that, but I was long on some other calls, which were these calls right here, and I managed to ink out 1,000 on those. These I went long on the 671s right out of the gate, right here. Made a little bit of money, a little bit of scratch, bought the pullback, and it never went, never bounced. Gave me another wick, and then it rolled over right into this 10-minute downtrend. So I lost big time on that one, okay? And then I had some more puts right here, and I just traded these puts. And you can see where I try to buy the low of the option candle and pick off the lows and sell into strength. Pick off the lows, sell into strength right there. Okay, same thing on this one. Pick off the lows and sell into strength. And that's it for me. I see some charts. T2106, McClellan oscillator. I don't know how to read the McClellan oscillator, but I will share what Robert wrote. McClellan oscillator versus NYSE on the blue line, deeply oversold as per April, but April NYSE had plunged with the oscillator and turned up together. Okay, so I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to bring it up here. Okay, this is like a year ago here. These turned up together. These are very separated on the McClellan. You can see this looks like this blue line, probably the NYSE, or probably the NYSE right there. And you can see McClellan oversold. So again, we may get a bounce tomorrow based on the GEX and Robert sharing the McClellan oscillator right there. You can see this winding up. See the zigzag gets tighter, 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 and then spring comes like uncoiling right out of the box and comes down here. So there's T2106. Thanks for sharing that, Robert. And Robert says, interesting, lost money on SPY 660 put. Time of the close for 140. SPY sold off, yeah. but 660 put yesterday at the close for 142. And as SPY sold off into yesterday's close, SPY opened up higher, okay, and then the 660 puts opened up 30 cents today, so he got burned, then down to 15 cents, then rallied, trading back to 60 cents. SPY dropped mid-morning, closed at looks like 10 cents or 1 cent. Tough to hold these overnight. Yes, it is. Totally agree. Only 1 or 2 on those. All right. That SPY 660 put was for expiration today. I think better to trade intraday setups and some good swings for a little bit longer than to hold overnight. It's a double-edged sword. Sometimes it works with you. Sometimes it works against you. Eventually, I'd like to get Tex and have him help explain a little bit more on the GEX. Maybe we could game some of this stuff a whole lot better. I did get the opening rally right, and I did say the rollover, but I did not expect the 660 rollover. I kind of just expected right here to gap fill and then come back up here and visit that. So I got way more than I expected, and I got burned on that right there. Yeah, it would be nice to understand everything that's going on with it. I do understand the dealers have to sell in order to whatever they have to forfeit over. But I'd like to know if that zero gamma has anything to do with Monday's price action. And I'm noticing, like I said, with the puts and calls, I was looking at the sold put calls and the sold calls right here. You can see on the left side of just this box right here. Okay, I'll just walk around. Here's the first box. Here's the second box. On the left side is the sold column. All right, and this is the long column. If it's green, it's measuring calls. If it's red, it's measuring puts. So you can see on Mondays, not very much long volume on both calls or puts right here. It's not till you get down to this area, you got a little bit of long on some puts down there. And this is the long side on the right, and the short side is on the left. So if they sold puts, that means they're expecting the market to be bullish. Well, if it's bearish, it's going to work against them. They're going to have to fork over some money if the market closes underneath sold puts. All right? They'll be in big trouble. Underneath sold puts. Okay? And then these are sold calls. Okay? Closing underneath sold calls, all right, works out great for the guy that sold the calls. Okay? But if price gets up over the sold calls, he's got to eat it, and then he's got to forfeit over for the sold calls. Okay, so over here we had long puts, and they disappeared this morning. So, and then of course you got the zero gamma. I'd sure like to figure this out. If you noticed all day today, for a good part, all 4 of these right up here were in the red as we melted down. And it's been my experience in the past when all 4 of these, the net GEX, the net flow, the gamma, the GEX ratio, and the flow ratio are all red, the market tends to move lower when all 4 are red at the same time. So again, I don't know why, and maybe he could help explain it with some clarity, because I'm still foggy on all of that, but it'd be nice. All right, that's it for me for today, traders. I'll see you guys next week. Everybody have a beautiful weekend. Have a safe weekend. Month's going by fast. Not going to be long. Taxes are going to be due in about 30 days. Get ready for it. Thanks. I'll see you guys on Monday 8 o'clock.